Hello and welcome, Kendall Duffie. Good grief.
Hello, Kenya.
We have so many inside jokes, and I have
We
to
do.
say this. There's no way I'm going to start this interview without first just being like, oh my God, I have not seen you. This is awful. We don't get to see each other like we usually, or we used to see each other prior to COVID and stuff. But we still kind of see each other on social media and we text and
Yes.
we, make sure each other live. But how are you?
Absolutely splendid. Like I'm doing
Splendid.
fabulous. Yes. Doing great. Doing great.
Well, I am going. Kendall has, this is Kendall Duffie, and he has so many things that I know he's going to talk to us and share about this life after 40 because he is making his life magical. It appears, at least, social media, you be glamming it up and stuff. But no, I know him personally, and we're going to dig more into how we know each other in a moment. But Kendall, before I have like my first question, I'm actually going to read something to you about you.
Okay.
And so I just want you to listen. So this is the way that I let the guests kind of formally get to know you. But so sit back and listen. Um, Kendall Duffie is a seasoned music producer, radio promotions executive, one half of the soul R&B duo Cloud9, the VP, Vice President of D3 Entertainment Group, a strategic marketing management, radio promotions, and music production company, and CEO founder of Deep Sea Vegan LLC, a plant-based eatery in Nashville, Tennessee. And no, I'm not done. Here I go. This is the last thing because I told y'all he does a lot. Here we go. Kendall has worked with various artists in various genres and always strives on having a consistent thread of quality and musical integrity with everything he touches. The recording artists he has worked with include, but are not limited to by any means, recording gospel artist Vicky Yohe, soul and jazz songstress and recording artist Mesa Leak, smooth jazz flutist or flautist, some people say, Althea Renee, Grammy Award winner CeCe Winans, Mitchell Jones of Commissioned, Pastor Marvin Winans. God, don't mess up Marvin Winans' name, can you? Smooth jazz saxophonist Kirk Whalum, Grammy Award winning producer Sanchez Harley, and a host of independent artists, including yours truly. So that is a very abbreviated, he actually provided me it even more abbreviated, but I was like, no, I got to include some more stuff. So Kendall, tell me, what did it feel like hearing that about yourself?
Well, I think it's very befitting to the theme of the podcast, life after 40. It's kind of funny because, as you're growing up, I think you see things so differently. And I believe life gets sweeter if you're doing the right things and if you're walking in purpose. Life gets sweeter
Mm,
later in life. And I think 40 is a great time for us to really start to discover who we are. And I also add, as you were reading some of that, and I'm just saying this candidly and honestly, like working with you was a real highlight. I mean, I work with a lot
mm,
of notable people and independent artists, which I love. I think I'm going to say this because I don't want people think I'm just saying it because it's the right thing to say. But I think that sometimes you work with an artist, you meet someone, and you have a certain type of synergy, musical synergy, and chemistry that is not always found. I mean, it may always be a good situation, but it's not always the type of synergy and energy that you and I found and connected. And so I'm
yeah.
saying that
Mhm.
honestly. And
Yeah.
so it was a real joy working with you, helping you to develop the sound, and just being a part of your journey was a joy for me. So I just wanted to say that.
Ah, this is why I said, guys, okay, we only have like 40 minutes, but this dude, it was because of you, and not just to kind of do a gushing party over each other, but it was because of you that my music career actually really took off. You are literally you were the key to ignite that, or the lighter, or whatever that is, to ignite the next level. And I prayed about it, I sat still for it. I was very intentional. I took a whole 40-day kind of not a fast per se, but like a fast from social media and distractions, because I'm like, I gotta meet someone who's gonna really help my music career go to the next level. And then you appeared.
Well,
So
a quick segue. Shout out to Kathy Carroll, one of my
yes,
music industry friends that I've known for a long time, who was a former executive at Epic Records, the label of Michael Jackson and tons of other artists. And I believe
yeah,
she, in some way, like either heard you or and then kind of knew my vibe and connected us. And so
yeah,
Kathy Carroll, which is why it's so important to have great relationships, because
yes,
oftentimes it takes a little bit of connecting dots for things to happen. So that's how
yeah,
our connection was established through Kathy Carroll, one of my
yeah.
industry friends and long time music industry executives.
Yeah, no, Kathy was, she was, yes, she was the person who, and I got it connected to her through another relationship that I have here in Chicago. A very dear friend of mine by the name of John Hill, who knows like everyone and was like, you need to get connected to her. And she did. She said, you know what? I love what you're doing. She's like, I said, I really want to get to Europe. And she's like, okay, I'm going to send this out to those contacts that I think have relationships in Europe and in London. And you were on the list. So,
Awesome.
and this all happened, I want everyone to hear, after the age of 40. This was not something that Kendall and I, met, although we met in a weird way. We'll have to tell that story a little bit later. We didn't know we met, but we did when we were actually teenagers, which is really hilarious. I hope we have time to talk about it. But yes, it was after our 40s. I was in my 40s, you were in your 40s, and
That's
that's
right.
when this all took off. So I that's why I invited you to the podcast, because music is a staple of what you do, but you do so much more, and you're included in our Art Voices Matter series, because I think other artists and non-artists need to hear your story. So my first question for you, because we could go on and on about each other. So I'm gonna ask a question, but you know, prior to being 40, what was life like as an artist for you prior to this kind of stage of life that is doing what? Give us some details or some
Sure.
snapshots. What was it like?
Sure. It was definitely a journey that I've been on most of my adult life. And I think that's something that a lot of times people don't always understand, that there's really no such thing as an overnight success. Most overnight successes are about 20 to 25 years in the making. And so prior to 40, Kenya, I was on the same journey that eventually got me to where I am now and where I was at 40, meaning that excuse me, I knew what I wanted to do from a very young age. And so I pursued that with a lot of intentionality, and it was a lot of ups and downs. A lot of I actually moved to London at one time around 1999 for a couple of years, and worked in studios, and it was a very developmental part of my life, personally and musically. Just kind of stepping out on my own, going to a foreign country
Mm,
by myself,
mm,
and figuring things out. So basically, prior to 40, it was just on this path, on this journey, on this highway,
yeah, yeah,
knowing where I'm going and not ever feeling like I wouldn't get there, but just going through whatever the detours and different routes and ups and downs that were there to get me
yeah.
where I am. And I think when you do that, you have a much more fonder appreciation
Mm,
when you reach a certain level in life. You really appreciate it more when you go through all those things that at that time feel like setbacks and
mm,
disappointments, which maybe they are, but I think they're also character building. They're also the things that when you get to a certain place beyond 40 and certain level of success, that are the things that will never break you and will never move you
mm.
from the winds that are sure to come. Those are the things that ground you, and so that's why I'm grounded.
Yeah. Listen, Kendall is you are the most grounded. I think you are the most grounded person I know. And when I say that, I don't say that in like a joke. Like you shared with me your pathway of moving out of the country and just being pretty much at like the lowest of like, I've got to make a shift. I've got to make a shift, and just
Yeah,
having a dime in your pocket and just taking a leap of faith
sure.
and, you know, getting, literally walking the streets of a country that you don't even, know, just so that somebody would hopefully, recognize your gifts and give you an opportunity. And yeah, it was a really special one. I don't want to have to, spend all our time talking about it, but that's how you got connected with Bluey from Incognito. And those of you who
That's
are
correct.
true music heads, we all bow to Bluey from Incognito because he's a phenomenal musician and person.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So I want us to forward a little bit because I just in your bio, I just said a whole bunch of things, and people are probably like, okay, wait, how he go from music producer and then radio promotions and then chef and then like what in the world?
Yeah.
So I mean, without taking all our time, you
Yeah.
said you knew what it is that you wanted to do, but did you see
Yeah.
all of that coming on the
Well,
horizon?
well, I'm going to say this in kind of an abbreviated way. Yes, and I'll say that like this. So, my mother, who's now passed away, but my mother was a chef. All she ever did for her adult life was she worked as a chef and she worked as a musician. My mother
Mm,
poured into me in both of those areas. And one thing my mom always told me is that, you know, you have a very rare gift, Kendall, and you'll probably be the guy that gets married late in life because you're so driven. And guess what? She was right because I'm still not married. It's another
that's a
story.
whole
But
nother story, but go ahead.
and she also said to me that if you learn how to cook, you'll always have a job. And so when
Mm,
it comes to being creative, Kenya, music spills over into other areas of creativity. Creating food, creating culinary dishes is a creative prowess. It's a creative
mhm,
opening. It's a creative gateway to a creative mind. And so it's
mhm.
just another path of mine that still taps into that creative side of me. Music is something I will always do. It's my first love. It's something that I'm not departed from. It's funny how, you look at all of the, I guess, mainstream, if you will, um,
Mhm.
music talent out there. Um, everyone is doing multiple things, be it
Yes.
be it clothing lines, be it alcoholic beverage lines, be it
Yes.
headphones, be it, I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And so there's nothing. Kevin Hart just launched a vegan restaurant. I mean, so I think that we're at a time, Kenya, in the world where it's a good thing when you are not one dimensional,
Mm,
and it doesn't mean that you're departing from something. It just means that you're opening up another part of your life. And the beauty
mhm,
of this for me is that as a musical person, as a creative person musically on the music side of it, sometimes you need a segue and a break to kind of
mm.
digest and kind of take a break from that, especially when you've been inundated, which I have for the last 20 years in this
Yeah.
industry. And to be honest with you, Kenya, this break has like really, when I say break, I mean just delving into another area, which is the food and
Mhm.
beverage, we'll talk about later, has really given me a lot of creative juice. Like
Yeah.
the world is going to be like really excited because it's like anything. It's like if you've been running for a long time and you stop and let your muscles rest,
Yes.
or
Yes.
like the off season of football or basketball. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it takes that off season, or that break from the day to day to sit back, whether you pursue something else or whether you just rest up to get
Yeah.
that passion, and that those creative juices flowing at a high level again. And that's where I am on the music side now.
You know what? I am so glad you just said all of that because for two main reasons. One, for artists, so that they understand that even though you may be pursuing music and like, oh, I just want to perform, that's just it. I just want to get on the stage and perform. I don't know really of probably any mainstream artist at this point who are just getting on the stage. It's one because it's a very difficult thing to only do that at this point
Yeah.
on a lot of levels. But two, as creatives, you have all these translational skills that can translate over
Sure.
to this, to that, which is why. And so when I'm talking to artists, and I hope artists really hear this, don't be so narrow to think that the only thing you should be doing is
Sure.
performing or recording. In fact, this gift you have really opens you up to a lot of areas. So go explore.
It
So
does.
thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes those things kind of help to propel the other. A funny quick
Mhm.
story, on the food and beverage side, we were catering for a New Edition just recently on their recent 2022 culture tour, and
Mm.
got a chance to talk to Ryan DeVoe for quite a while as he was smashing our food. But one of the things that he said, which ties right into this conversation, is that for the last 7 or 8 years, he's been heavily invested in the real estate industry. Started a real estate
Mhm.
company, went to real estate school, or took the course rather, got his real estate license. And so he was telling me that, the years that they weren't touring, which has been a long time, really, I think since this last tour, they hadn't really been as New Edition. I don't recall
Right.
them doing much over the last
Right.
6, 7, 8, 10 years, maybe. I mean, one-offs here and there, right? But anyway,
Right.
what he was saying was that, and it showed on the tour, was that the departure from that and focusing on real estate and just kind of life made them all so hungry. And if you saw the tour, which I did, you saw that
Mhm.
they were like, it was like a rebirth, in terms of their
Yeah.
energy and their passion. It was like, wait a minute, how old are they now? Because I saw them when I was 19 and they still look like the same energy and excitement at
Yeah.
40, 35, 40 years later. And so
Yeah.
he was saying the same thing I said in a different way, that departure and focusing on real estate and family and things really got them, and all the other things that each member was doing got them all like ready to jump back on the
Yes.
stage. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's always a good thing to have those outlets, and,
Yeah.
and that ability to to breathe, and just to have that, those breaks here and there, mental
Yeah.
breaks and just time away, and also a chance to develop other parts of who you are. Don't cheat the world of all the gifts you have inside of you. Bless the
Absolutely.
world with those gifts.
Absolutely. And so now I need to, I'm going to play this recording for people who say, why aren't you doing music right now, Kenya? And I'm like, it's okay for me to take a break because this
Yes.
break is feeding me in so many other ways. And to me, it's like, it's a break, but it's not really, it's just like, I'm just living, it's like I have all these other things. And so while you may publicly or on Facebook or Instagram only know me as this, oh my God, I have all these other things that I've always been. I just didn't post it and publish it per se,
Yeah.
and so now this, quote unquote break is just a way for me to dig deeper. So I really super duper appreciate you saying that. And I hope that non-artists can, I'm doing this Art Voices Mattering, letting artists talk more personally, not just what we see on, TV per se, but to really to better understand the wholeness of an artist
Sure.
and why we approach artistry the way we do and why we don't do certain things. So that was, you fed right into my hands, right into my cup.
And there's such a thing as balance, and we all need balance.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to go into, all right, finding this voice of being a chef. Okay, because and you said you alluded to it saying that your mom, you were heavily influenced and she poured into that. But, a lot of people cook well and they cook, for their families and they, that's their little side. But they not opening up, pop up and brick and mortar actual branded stores and
Yeah.
restaurants and products. So what made you, how did you decide not to just really, because I know you personally, I've ever since I met you, you've always loved cooking. So this is another thing that this isn't new. So those of you who are
Sure.
like, well,
Yeah.
why is
Not
he
at
doing,
all.
not at all, he's always been into cooking. And I think, I told you it's because of me that you even started deep sea vegan, but that's okay, that's a joke, that's a running joke. But what made you decide to step into this part of your voice or yourself on such a major level in terms of, and you can describe to people a little bit more about deep sea vegan.
Yeah, sure. So, what really allowed me to walk into it further. Just to back up a little bit, in 1990, let's see, I moved from Denver to Nashville in 1994. I grew up in Denver, which is hopefully we'll get to the story that Kenya alluded to earlier. Um, I didn't know that I knew Kenya, but apparently our paths crossed. But we'll get back to that. So left Denver in '94, moved to Nashville to pursue a career in the music industry. Upon arriving in Nashville, we didn't really, myself, my twin brother, my sister. When I say we, that's what I'm referring to. We didn't really know a lot of people here or much about what we were going to do. We just knew we wanted to be in a city that was conducive to the music industry, strictly gospel, which at the time we were strictly and heavily into the gospel side of the music industry. Well, we had to get an apartment, we had to eat, we had to live. So first job I got was bakery chef at Vanderbilt University. And I got that job. Literally, I walked in and explained to them that I've been cooking and baking all my life. My mother was a self-taught country girl cook, but she was also a certified culinary chef. She went to culinary school at Western Kentucky University. So she was the best of both worlds. She was a bad self-taught country girl from Mississippi. And then she went and got a degree in culinary arts as a chef. So you can imagine, all of us that know about country girls from Mississippi that can cook, and then they got the audacity to go get a culinary degree. That's a dangerous girl in the kitchen. Okay. So she was the one that just really poured into me from the time I was young. She just saw that I had a natural gift of cooking. So started at Vanderbilt as a bakery chef. Like I said, I walked in, they asked me to make a basic chocolate cake from scratch. That was kind of my resume, if you will. I didn't have an actual resume outside of me telling them all the things I could do and what I've done. And they showed me around the kitchen. Kenya walked away, came back an hour later, took a bite of that cake and said, when can we start? And that's a true story, no exaggeration. So then shortly thereafter, some people were asking me to make some cookies for them. It was just some friends of ours, which I did. And then they called, this was before we had cell phones. So they would page me and say, hey, call me back, on a pager. And then, hey, my neighbor tasted your cookies. They want some. And his neighbor and his cousin. And so next thing you know, I started this little cookie business called Duffie's Mad Dozens. This was in 1995. And so I literally, so this is all not new. And so I literally, so my sister Michelle and I at the time, we were roommates because we had just moved to Nashville together. We're both single. So we were living together. My twin brother had just got married. So he and his wife were together. So Michelle and we were in this little apartment in Nashville, and I had like 50-pound bags of sugar, 50-pound bags of flour, this before I was vegan. So it was all regular stuff. And I would be getting pages, like people would page me, and then I call them back. They give me, I had like printed out order sheets as before the technology was advanced. So I'd have these printed out sheets. I'd write down the order. And I seriously, I would be filling orders till like 2 and 3 in the morning.
Oh my God.
Filling orders. And so after about 4 or 5 months, and it was a nice little side hustle, but it was so time consuming.
Yeah.
So I pretty much never came back to that until this thing called COVID happened in 2020, right? And so working in the television and film industry and music industry and any industry, really, everything shut down. I came to a crashing halt. And so the idea had kind of been in my mind for a while, but I was just too busy. I had too much going on.
Yeah.
I think COVID was a blessing in a lot of ways to a lot of people that maybe they do or don't realize. I realize it. And so in terms of the name, I started scuba diving about 10 years ago. And I started, which I know is not so common in the African American community, but I've always loved to swim. I'm a great open water swimmer. And so I got into scuba diving and I fell in love with it. I mean, I fell deep in love with it. And so I started advancing my training. I'm now a certified rescue diver. And so I'm segueing that to say that I had this concept as with my love for scuba diving and my love for cooking and baking, I kind of brought those two passions together and created what's called deep sea vegan. And so people were always saying, well, what is, is it seafood? I said, well, I'm a scuba diver. Oh, you're a deep sea scuba diver. Okay. And then you see the logo that there's a scuba diver holding a plate. So COVID, to answer your question, came along. And so all of a sudden, all these promotional things that I worked for record companies over the years. And so all this stuff, doing radio, it just all came to a halt. So I was like,
Mhm.
maybe I can like try to give this a shot. And I think, Kenya,
Mm.
because you know me, you know I'm not doing anything small. That's just not who I
No,
am. It's
they
just,
don't know that.
and I,
I'm not surprised, but
yeah, and
yeah.
I don't say that like in an arrogant way. I just say that that's just how. First of all, we grew up, my sibling and I, very poor, homeless, lived in shelter
Mm,
homes, uh, lived in, you know, I mean, we had it bad, single parent home. And so I think a lot of that has to do with the way that myself, my twin brother Kelvis, and my sister Michelle have attacked life. Um, Perhaps maybe as overachievers, but I think that when you come from certain backgrounds, it forms you to think in a certain way. And so
yeah.
for me and for my siblings and I, we have always felt like we're never going to do anything small and we're never going back to where we were at that time.
Mm,
And just a quick word of encouragement for anyone who has come from that background or maybe is struggling with things even now, right?
mm,
Your today is not your tomorrow, meaning that regardless
mm.
of where you are in life, that's not the totality of where you're going to be. So
Absolutely.
never let anyone speak negativity over your life based on where you've been or where you currently are. That does not
Mm,
reflect tomorrow, the future. It does not. So I want to say that
yeah.
again. That does not at all,
No, no.
at
Li-
all
l-
determine your tomorrow.
Absolutely. And the way that Kendall is talking, I know I want people to understand because I've known you now. Oh my goodness. We met in 2013. So it's been like 11 years, which no,
Wow,
9 years. No,
nine
wait, it's
years.
not 9 years, almost 10
Yeah,
years. It'll be
yeah,
10 years
yeah.
next year. This is how Kendall, like, this is how he talks in our just sitting up talking on the phone. Like this is who he is. This is not just okay, I'm on the podcast. Let me put
No,
this.
no, no, no. Let
This
me tell
is
you something, Kenya.
yeah, yeah.
Negativity is contagious, and so is positivity.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I'm at a place in life where I choose positivity. I choose to be forward thinking. I choose to show love, and constantly trying to be a
Mm,
better person. So, um,
yeah.
when we did Deep Sea Vegan, like I said, we're not going to just do anything just to do it. And so we actually just closed on our first building. We just bought our first building.
Oh my
This information hasn't
gosh.
gone public yet, but this is going to be the first of many. And so I'm saying that with much intentionality, the first of many.
Mm,
Um, in
wow.
Nashville, in Atlanta, South Florida, we're going to revolutionize the plant-based world. The three of us just were recently in New York City at the World Plant-Based Expo, which was amazing on so many levels,
Mm,
and so many things developed just from that trip. Um, but we have a lot of things in the works. Um, and my brother and
wow.
I still have new music coming out in 2023, Cloud Nine. We have an album that we finished before COVID that was never released, and we decided to wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially now with the food and beverage thing taking off, until we're at a place where we can really focus on that. But the beauty of it is when you do music that doesn't date itself or just more kind
Yes.
of what I call real quality music, like your stuff, Kenya,
Yeah.
then like when people hear our music next year, they would if they don't know us personally and know the story, they're gonna say, "Oh, they probably just recorded this a few months ago." I
Right.
don't say that arrogantly. I'm just saying that when you use live instruments, when you have real melodies, it just sounds. It doesn't
It's
sound dated.
timeless.
It doesn't sound
No,
like
it's timeless.
you know, like as a part of a certain era. It just sounds like great, fresh music, right?
Right.
And so that's what we do. And so that's the school that I come from in terms of my musical mentors and my musical influences.
Oh my gosh. You just said so many things and I need so much more time, but we're going to have to wrap up soon, but I want to highlight, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we pre-record these episodes, and so by the time this comes out, maybe it will be public, maybe not. But I appreciate you sharing it with our audience, and that's a massive feat. I saw
Yeah.
you go from the idea to pop up, looking for a place just to do maybe one pop up one Sunday, just to
Yeah.
see what it would feel like,
Yeah.
and then to have regular pop ups, and now to have brick and mortar and have
Yeah.
investors and all the things.
Yeah. And I'll say this real quick that we bought the building. And I say that because I think it's important as African Americans to understand the
Yeah.
importance of ownership. And so
Yes.
we were going the route of investors. That didn't work out. That didn't
I
discourage us.
gotcha.
We bought it
Gotcha.
ourselves. Okay.
Oh,
1/3
wow.
across the board. Okay. And we're going to buy every building that we move into. We're going to buy. We're not going to own. We're not going to rent. We're not going to lease. And I'm saying all
Yeah.
this because I want to empower you, not to brag or boast. So if you hear it
Yeah.
that way, then you might want to check yourself. Where I'm coming from is to encourage you and to inspire you that we as a people, especially people of color, need to get into the mindset of ownership. We had people
Yes.
that wanted to put a lot of money into us, which showed us one thing: people with a lot of money are only going to put money into things that they
If they
see a lot of potential
Yep.
in, which is
Yep.
why we
Yep.
decided to pull back and do it
Yeah.
ourselves,
Yeah.
which we did.
Wow. Wow. No, it's huge. It's huge on so many levels. And what's even bigger, relevant to this podcast is that this was done at
After
midlife,
40.
after 40. And I
Yep.
think so many times people will feel as though once they're hitting this stage, it's like, well, I guess I just better retire, or let me just get ready to retire. And here you are
Don't come
beginning a
around me with that
venture.
energy.
I know.
I'm not the
And
one.
you are my friend, you are my brother, you are a mentor. Honestly, when I too, I'm like, I can't go small. I gotta go big. And sometimes I will tell myself, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I wish I was just normal. And I'm like, no, Kenya. And not to say anything, about normal, but I realize this is how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And watching people like you and your family, Michelle and Calvis, just really do the dang thing and never take it in some small, but always, doing it in a meaningful, thoughtful, big way. I mean, it's just really huge. So, all right,
Thank you.
we are going to have to wrap up, but I want to be able, there's two things that I need you to be able to share with the audience, or maybe three. One is, what do you do to take care of yourself, your self-care? I mean, this is a lot. You're doing a lot. What does self-care look like for you?
That's an easy one. Scuba diving. I alluded to it earlier. It may sound kind of cliche, but honestly, scuba diving is one of the most surreal, peaceful, wonderful things I've gotten into, and I've become so fond of the ocean and so aware of the importance of the ocean, the importance of
Mhm.
coral reefs. But to be below the surface, and one thing that you have to do when you're breathing underwater is you have to breathe really slowly. And I learned that when you breathe slowly, it actually there's a chemical reaction that happens inside of us when we breathe slowly. And you probably know some of this from things you've done.
Mhm.
Breathing slowly and deeply actually brings a certain uh, balance to us, and psychologically and mentally, it gives us the ability to relax and think better. And so when
Mm.
I'm scuba diving, because you have to breathe that way, I'm in a tranquil environment where I'm weightless, and I'm breathing so slow and relaxed and seeing things that most people will never see. And
Yeah.
that's a big part of what I do for self care.
Wow. I never really thought of it that way in terms of, I'm always scared for you. I'm like, don't let the fish eat you, Kendall, but what you're talking about is a deep breathing, and deep breathing is, breath is life. That's what
Sure.
divides us from being alive and not, is the ability to have breath. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the deep breathing just keeps us in a presence and a calm and a zen, and
Sure.
meditation, yoga.
Absolutely.
These different things require lots of breath work, and
Sure.
even singing. Honestly, music requires breath work, and if you actually use your breathing, there's this kind of high that you experience as a singer in live time. So yeah, huge. Okay, awesome. And then the next song, now this is gonna be hard for you. Next question. Oh, maybe not, I don't know. I gave it to you ahead of time, but I don't think you probably saw it. But if you had to pick a theme song, like a song that just, when you hear it, it's like your theme, it's your jam, it's you love it, because we are creating a Spotify playlist. What would that song be? And of course, you're an artist, so I'm gonna include your other music too. But if there was one that's maybe not a song that you've done, is there a
Sure.
song that just really pumps you up?
Of course. There's a
Okay.
song called Off the Wall from the album Off the Wall by
I
Michael
wonder who that
Jackson.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because some people just think of the album Off the Wall, but the song Off the Wall from the album Off the Wall, which really, first of all, the rhythms in that song just really excite me. I'm a musical person, as you know, Kenyon. So when I hear the rhythms and the arrangements and the horns and the syncopation, it does something to me. But then when you listen to the lyrics, and it's really talking about living life free and off the wall. You know,
Mm,
life ain't so bad at all. Living off the wall. And
yeah.
so when you really delve into what he's saying and the energy behind it, it's kind of like be carefree, don't get bogged down, by the 9 to 5, which I interpret as just the grind of the day to day of life, whatever that may be for you.
Yeah.
Just live life freely and live life in a way that makes you feel good. Live it off the wall. And so that's my theme. That's my song.
Ah, I love that. And I've always known that because of course I pay attention to lyrics and that's why that song is so good on so many levels. So I'm glad you
Sure.
just broke that down because now everybody's gonna go back.
Please
They're gonna
do.
go listen to it and have a
Please do.
different perspective and context. No, I love it. I love it. Well, you have been wonderful. We didn't even so in our bonus, we're gonna do a bonus and we will share in the bonus how we actually knew each other before we knew each other. So if you really want to be able to hear that story, you have to join our Patreon, which again, it's in the show notes how to join. But if you go to findingyourvoice.com, I'm sorry, that's wrong. If you go to patreon.com/findingyourvoice, you can join, you can watch the video, you'll see what Kendall looks like, you'll see, more of me, and then you'll hear the bonus of things. So how can people follow you and make sure that they are finding out how to get your good food and all the things? What's the best way?
So the best way to on social media, I have a Facebook page, which is my name, Kendall Duffie, Ken as in Nancy, D as in David, All Duffie, D as in David, U, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, IE. And that may sound a little monotonous, but coming from the music industry, I learned always to be very clear when you give it on social media.
Yeah.
When I work with artists and have them doing interviews, so I'm doing what I would tell them to do.
Yeah.
And then on the artistic side for Cloud9, on Facebook, we have our artist/fan page, Cloud9 with the K, KLOUD, the numeral 9. Also on Instagram, Cloud9, KLOUD, the numeral 9. On Facebook for Deep Sea Vegan, it's Deep Sea Vegan, that's DEEP. Then the word sea as an ocean, SEA, and then vegan as in plant based, VEGAN. Same thing on Instagram, Deep Sea Vegan. There you'll be able to follow both sides of my life, which is
Yeah.
music and cooking, and also on the Deep Sea Vegan pages, you're pretty much going to get three basic things. You're going to see pictures of our food, of things that I'm developing, things I'm cooking. You're going to see pictures and videos of me scuba diving, and my brother, who's also a certified scuba diver, not as into it as I am, but he's into it.
Mhm.
And so you'll see our scuba diving videos, and you'll see things that are all about positivity, whether it be positive affirmations, whether it be just a good word for the day, things dealing with family, but all things positive. So food, scuba diving, and positivity,
Yes.
and that's what we're all about.
And he's and for real, and you'll get to go in the ocean. You'll get to go in the ocean. You will get
You
to see
will.
because he always has his video camera and he shows us this life underneath the world that is it really does look amazingly magical. Like I mean it's I mean I'm so glad that you
It
do that
is,
and allow us to go on the adventure with you.
and
So
that's why I
thank you
do it.
for it.
That's why I do it.
Yeah.
The world is 75% water and 25% land, and so for those who maybe are interested or just curious, I like to show things and educate people. Like people are always wondering, well, how long does it take to get down? How long does it take to go back up? And this, so I try to do things and actually make little educational videos
Right.
um, to help people to kind of walk into that world just for a moment through me,
Right.
and then
Right.
seeing the coral reefs and the tropical fish and even the sharks. Sometimes it comes by. I mean, they're in the water, but I've learned so much. I've learned so much about sharks, and there's such a myth about sharks that Hollywood has given us through Jaws and other movies, and
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
but there's also a whole other side that's more what I call the reality side of what that is,
Yeah.
which I try to share as an actual diver that enters the water on a regular basis and comes in contact with sharks on a regular basis, and other amazing marine life. I mean, I've seen seahorses, manatees, spotted
Mm.
eagle rays, things that most people will never see up close and in my face in the wild.
Right.
It's an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Oh my gosh. You inspire me. I ain't getting in the ocean at the bottom, but I'm gonna keep watching your videos
Okay.
and keep giving you so much love and support because we need to hear these stories, because while I may not go scuba diving, there may be this other thing that I really, really love, but I don't do it enough. And I need to do
Sure.
more of it for self-care. So I
Yep.
love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Don't jump off yet. You're going to stay
Okay.
tight. But for our audience listening on the podcast, on Spotify and Apple, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have been inspired. If this didn't inspire you, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. And for the artists who are listening, I hope this really gave you so much more to think through in terms of your careers, and not giving up, thinking that you hit one wall, you can't make it, or what have you. You really, there's tons of opportunity out here. It's just a matter of getting the support, being resilient, and just really being intentional, which I think you have really talked about. So I
Thank you, Kenya,
appreciate you.
for doing this, and I applaud you once again for stepping out after 40 and doing other things and spreading your wings and showing the different colors of your peacock feathers. I applaud you.
I love it. I have peacock feathers. I love it. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
All right. We're on our bonus. All right. Let's share really quick, because the bonus is only 10 minutes.
Okay.
So this is so super, super funny. We talked about in the podcast about Kathy Carroll, and you emailed me to basically, say, hey, I, heard about you, blah, blah, blah. And I think in the course of us kind of emailing him back, you at one point said, are you really from Denver? Because I think you must have read my bio or something.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, I am. And what? And you were like, I am too. And I'm like,
and we went to rival high school, so that was kind of funny.
We
like our high
started
schools were
kind
like
of
rivals.
They were rival high schools, Montbello and George Washington. So those of you who are in the Denver
we got the
area,
better end of the whole rivalry.
Oh my God.
That's
Okay, we're
another
not gonna
story.
it's a whole, and we don't even have to talk about that, because those of you who know about these high schools already know. Okay, already know. So, oh my God, did you see that, George?
Yes, I did.
George. Okay, anyway,
come
so come on. How cool is it that we go by George, not George Washington? That's how cool we were. We go by
we were
the
the
first
Bellows.
name.
The Bellows, huh?
My ghetto.
Well,
I'm just saying.
we were the only all-black school in Denver. Represent.
So you see, that made me like, what? He went to.
Yeah.
So come to find out, so it was like, cool. So then we start talking more, and we realized we have some mutual friends. And one of our mutual friends, you're friends with Jason Vaz, and I'm really good friends with Melissa. And we all
went to now his wife. But
which
at the
is
time
now
was
their
his
wife.
girlfriend.
Exactly. It was his girlfriend. And so back in high school. Okay. So we're talking about the 80s.
Sure. Yeah.
The 80s. And so so then we realized, okay, wow, we have mutual friends. Okay, fine. And, we continue to move on and work together. Well, we did it was like after a year or two of working and recording, we had a show. I did a show back in Colorado, and you and Calvis Cloud9 was featured on the show. So you guys were with me. And Jason and Melissa came to the show. And so Jason, I think, was like, oh, that's just so cool that you guys have been friends since high school. And I'm like, we didn't know each other.
I just met her a year ago. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Right. Yeah. It's like, no, we didn't know each other. And he's like, what? No, I think you guys were at my birthday party. Some kind of way he realized Melissa had given him like a surprise birthday party when he turned like 18 or something like this.
That's right.
And they pulled out a picture. They sent us a picture. And in this group photo is all the people who were at this little party. And sure enough, Kendall and his twin brother, Calvis, are standing like with one person in between. And then there's me and then my group of friends. And so literally we're in this picture together. And I think I was probably 16 or 15, 16, something at that point. And you were in that picture. So
which is so crazy. So
it's
crazy. Like our paths crossed, because I don't remember talking at the party or knowing you or anything. And so it was an isolated event. It was a party. So imagine a lot of people, and then here years and years later, we meet, we find out we're from the same city. And then through mutual friends that we both have, we discovered that we actually met as teenagers. Well, at least I don't know if we met, but we were in the same room together. How
yes, in the same space,
which is just crazy, right?
It's crazy. And like I said, it wasn't like we meet up like later in life and it's just like, oh, okay, hey, fine. No, we like actually do some amazing things together musically.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
it's just really interesting. And I've been having that happen a little bit more. I'll meet people now and come to find out we were, in college together, but just didn't know each other, or
Mm,
it's just wackadoodle. So
yeah.
so that was one part of the bonus. I want to make sure that that we get out. But I would love for you to share as our second part of the bonus, and then this will wrap us up. What is something that, because we didn't have time, that you want people to know about you that maybe I didn't ask, or you just in general you wish I would have asked? What's something else that you really want people to know?
I mean, I don't know that you didn't ask anything. Maybe that I think people probably know this, but I mean, I just love life, and I just I don't know, like I'm grateful to be at a place in my life where I wake up every day and I'm happy.
Yeah.
Happy doesn't mean that I have everything that I should have in life. Happy means that I'm content with where I am, and I'm very content with the journey that I'm on, and I
Mm,
have peace. Above all,
mm,
I have so much peace in my life, and so and I love that, and I'm trying to get more and more of it.
yeah.
Sure, there's things that test me and challenge me every day. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. I'm not saying my life is perfect. I'm saying I have peace, and I love where my
Yeah.
life is, and I'm just an overly ambitious guy. Um, my mom was right that I would get married later in life, and she told me that when I was a
Oh
young kid
gosh.
because
Well,
she saw that in me. Just I'm driven. So,
there's
but I
still
will.
time. There's
Yeah,
still
but
time.
I will say this, just in terms of people that are single, that don't allow people to discourage you, especially if you're in a place where you're ready for that. Don't jump too fast. Don't get too
Mm,
ambitious, or just move out of convenience. Allow
mm,
yourself to be in a place, in a space that you deserve to be in. Um,
mm.
and if that doesn't happen, you're actually better off than to have I'm saying than to have the luggage, or the baggage, I'm sorry, that comes with bad situations. Some people can bring
Right.
the wrong energy, and so I just want to encourage you if that is where you are, continue to become the best version of yourself, and when and if that time happens, that partner will appreciate that, and so will you, and hopefully that partner that's out there is doing the same thing, becoming the best version of his or herself.
Mhm, mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. No, no, no. I thank you for saying all of that, and I agree in terms of being still and not jumping too fast, not doing things out of convenience, and
Yeah,
knowing that you deserve exactly what it is you really desire, and
sure.
it may take longer or not. I mean, it just kind of depends
Right.
on
Or
where you're at.
love is a beautiful thing, and so I think that we all have the desire to be loved and to love, but we have to
Mhm.
do it responsibly and in the right place and space.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought if y'all wondering, what's Kendall's sign? He's Virgo. He's like Virgo, 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 and then some more Virgo. I need to, I've been studying astrology during this COVID break, and I'm at a high level now. I'm using it to help people discover themselves more. And I'm like, I need to get Kendall's chart. I need to be able to see, because he's not just he not you have every, there's more than just one sign in you. So, but you're very practically and grounded and good and in all those spaces. So I thank you for sharing that. I think also
My
we'll have to
pleasure.
bring you back, because I would love, and we just didn't have time, but to hear more of the story of why you chose a vegan lifestyle. And I think,
Yeah,
that's another powerful,
sure,
story and
sure.
testimony, but we don't
Yeah,
have time today. So we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back, and
I'm here. I'm here for it.
yes, and do all the things. So thank you again for always supporting me in my wild
Of
dreams.
course, always, always.
And I will, I had to get to Nashville so that I can,
Me
oh my
too.
God, it's awful. I need to be in Nashville. I'm thinking it through. I don't know if it's gonna happen before the end of 2022, but it's definitely now I'll have more reason. If you have, since you guys have a building, I'll have even more
Yeah.
to see later.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll invite you to the grand opening once we get all that together, and
yes,
so
yes,
it's gonna be a major grand opening. I can promise you that it's gonna be
yes.
a Hollywood comes to Nashville affair.
Uh
I think you know how we get down.
I know
So
how you get down. That's
it's
what I'm
gonna
saying. I
be
gotta get myself
pretty
together.
special. Yeah,
All
we'll
right,
give
I
you a
gotta get
save the
myself
date
together.
once we know all the
Please,
details. And so yeah,
please.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be special. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. Those who are watching from our Patreon, watching the video, I hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have. We're going to get ready to end the broadcast, but Kendall, you stay tight. I am going to push stop first and then,
Okay.
but don't you leave
Sure.
quite yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
thanks everybody for tuning in.